She walks into the restaurant convinced she's the main event. In her mind, he's already lucky just to be sitting across from her. She's mapped the night out before she's even said hello. A free meal, a flattering Instagram story, a funny little date review for her friends where she both brags and complains. But then something unexpected happens. The waiter drops the check. He looks at it, then looks at her and calmly says, "Let's split it." She freezes. Surely he's joking. He isn't. In fact, when she starts to act offended, he doesn't backtrack, doesn't beg, doesn't apologize for having a boundary. He simply calls out the entitlement in her attitude, finishes his drink, and walks away mid-conversation when she escalates. In that moment, her whole dating script falls apart. This is what happens when entitled behavior collides with men who have standards, boundaries, and enough self-respect to say, "No thanks." You can see this dynamic everywhere now. Videos flood social media with women railing about how awful their dates were. Not because the guy was rude, dishonest, or creepy, but because he didn't pay for parking, didn't get bottle service, didn't pick them up in a luxury car, didn't spend hundreds of dollars proving he was serious before even knowing them. They're honestly confused when a man doesn't treat them like royalty purely for existing. What they don't realize is this. Men who've spent years building real value in their lives, financially, emotionally, professionally, are done playing these games. They're not falling over themselves to impress someone they don't even know. They're not buying validation with dinners and Uber rides just to qualify for a second date. A client told me about his date last week. She showed up half an hour late. No text, no apology. Sat down, immediately ordered the most expensive cocktail and the priciest entree, and barely contributed to the conversation. She scrolled through her phone, took a few photos of the food, acted bored the entire time. Then the bill came. He said, "Can we get separate checks, please?" Her jaw dropped. A real man would never make a woman pay. He looked her in the eye and replied, "A real woman wouldn't assume a stranger owes her anything." She stormed out, later blasting him online as cheap and unmanly. He walked away feeling relieved. He'd just saved himself months or years of drama, tantrums, and one-sided expectations. High-quality men don't climb their way to stability and success just to hand their time, resources, and peace of mind to someone who thinks showing up with makeup on is enough contribution to a relationship. They want partners, not dependents. Equals, not fans. Women who match their discipline, emotional maturity, and effort, not just their restaurant bill. Cultural expectations make this clash even more obvious. Take Western women traveling to the Netherlands. Many arrive expecting what they're used to, men chasing them, buying them drinks, overpraising them, putting them on pedestals for minimal effort. Instead, Dutch men split bills. They speak directly. If they're not interested, they say so. They don't sugarcoat. They don't shower strangers with money or unwarranted compliments. Suddenly, the narrative becomes, these men don't know how to treat a woman. No, these men simply don't subscribe to a belief system where attention and money must endlessly flow one way. They see women as equals, which means equal responsibility, equal honesty, and equal investment. I've seen the same complaints about dating in Germany. He told me straight up he wasn't feeling a connection. He didn't gush about my appearance. He expected me to pay for my own drinks. To someone who grew up on constant validation and the idea that just being a woman is enough to be chased and funded, this feels like disrespect. But it isn't. It's equality. These men aren't being cruel. They are treating women as autonomous, capable adults, not as fragile princesses whose mere presence deserves compensation. Western dating culture, especially in some urban bubbles, has created expectations that don't export well. The "I show up and you prove yourself to me" dynamic collapses when it enters societies where both genders are genuinely expected to bring something to the table. Women used to American men desperate for attention and willing to pay heavily for it discover that in cities like Prague or Warsaw, men expect real conversation, genuine curiosity, shared effort, mutual investment. The shock is immediate. For some, it's devastating. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Financial expectations on dates reveal priorities instantly. If someone's biggest complaint about a date is, "I had to pay for my own coffee," you already know what they primarily showed up for. It wasn't connection. It wasn't compatibility. It wasn't shared values. It was extraction. They weren't looking for a partner. They were looking for a sponsor. A man I counsel suggested a simple coffee meetup for a first date. Low pressure, public, easy exit if there's no chemistry. She replied, "I don't do coffee dates, dinner only." He said, "I don't do expensive dinners with strangers." She fired back, "You must be broke." What she didn't know, he owns multiple companies and could have easily paid for the fanciest restaurant in the city. But his wealth is exactly why he screens so carefully. Successful men are not failing to measure up. They're filtering. Entitlement is blinding. It keeps some women from seeing that the very men they claim to want, confident, established, disciplined, are the ones opting out of this game entirely. Instead of asking, "Is there something I could change or improve?" many choose a simpler story. Men in this city are the problem. You hear it everywhere. Men in Berlin are cold. Men in Tokyo are shy. Men in London are cheap. Men in Seattle are awkward tech nerds. Men in Miami just want sex. Men in New York are married to their jobs. It's always the city, the culture, the men, the apps, the timing, the economy, the horoscope. Anything except the one common denominator across all their situations: themselves. I once heard a woman complain about dating in Scandinavia. "These men expect me to approach them. They don't buy drinks. They're not romantic at all." In societies that truly value equality, women are expected to participate, not passively wait to be chosen while demanding traditional perks and modern freedoms simultaneously. She wanted the benefits of empowerment without the responsibility of reciprocity. That tension is at the heart of much modern dating frustration. Men aren't clueless anymore. Many have adapted. They've developed simple, effective ways to quickly identify whether a woman is interested in them or in what they can provide. Here are some common tests men quietly use now. Suggest a coffee date. If she's offended, she's not there for connection. She's there for a paid experience. Suggest splitting the bill. If she reacts as if you insulted her dignity, she's not about equality. Only selective equality when it benefits her. Suggest a free or low-cost activity. A walk, museum day, or park meetup. If she declines because that's not a real date, she values what you spend, not who you are. A friend of mine has a consistent strategy. First date is always something simple: coffee or a walk. That's it. If she shows up on time, engages, and doesn't complain about the simplicity, then, and only then, does he plan something more elaborate next time. This one filter saves him a small fortune each year. More importantly, it saves his time and emotional energy. When women lead with entitlement, pre-printed lists of demands, strict financial expectations, lifestyle minimums, constant talk of what they deserve. Men with options quietly opt out. They've learned that early entitlement is usually a preview of long-term misery. In some cultures, especially across Europe, men are much more direct. They've been raised with the idea that honesty, even when uncomfortable, is more respectful than fake politeness. So a German man might say after a first date, "I don't feel a romantic connection. I don't think we should see each other again." He's trying to save both of them time. He's refusing to ghost. He's being clear. But for someone used to endless reassurance and participation trophy self-esteem, that level of straightforward feedback feels like an attack. "I can't believe he said that to my face. That's emotional violence." No, that's called adulthood. The alternative is manipulation, pretending, leading someone on, or using them for attention or perks. Another story. A woman went on a date in Amsterdam. When they met in person, the man realized he simply wasn't attracted to her. So he calmly said, "You seem nice, but I'm not feeling physical chemistry. I'd rather be honest and not waste your time." She went online later and labeled it cruel and traumatizing. Would she have preferred that he lie, string her along, maybe sleep with her under false interest, all because he was too scared of her reaction to be honest? Raw honesty feels harsh, only if you've built your self-worth around the idea that you're untouchable and universally desired. Modern dating doesn't begin on the first date. It begins with a profile. Men scroll through endless pages of bikini shots, heavy filters, club photos, captions about being a queen, lists of requirements, and "if you can't handle me at my worst" disclaimers. Then some women are baffled when they keep attracting shallow men, players, and users. But what did you advertise? If your online presence screams, "I crave attention, I prioritize money and status, I'm high maintenance and proud of it. Here's a list of things you must provide just to talk to me." Then serious men looking for depth, loyalty, calm, and partnership won't even message you. They move on. A friend once showed me a profile. Dozens of thirst traps, party photos every weekend. Bio, CEO of my own business. It turned out to be a pyramid-style MLM. A list of height and income requirements. A final line, "If you can't spoil me, don't waste my time." Then she complained that all her matches were players. You advertise entitlement and superficiality. You attract those who either want to use you or play the same game. Depth doesn't shop in that aisle. On top of that, many women now treat dates as content opportunities. Every awkward interaction becomes a TikTok story. Every mismatch becomes a comedic rant. They're not just looking for a partner, they're looking for material. Quality men see this too. They watch the videos mocking exes, reading private messages aloud, and humiliating past partners for views. They understand that dating this kind of woman means risking becoming the villain of her next viral clip. So they quietly avoid her. There's a popular narrative. If I can't find what I want at home, I'll just go overseas where men will worship me. Some women buy fully into this dream. They watch curated videos and hear secondhand stories about how romantic French men are, how passionate Latin men are, how chivalrous British men supposedly are. Then they land in Paris, Rome, Rio, Tokyo, or Zurich, and discover something humbling. Men are still men. Standards still exist. Local women are often competitive, impressive, and deeply rooted in their cultures. The French guy wants to split the bill. The Italian man expects reciprocity and may be cooking as normal relationship contribution. The British man suggests the subway instead of an Uber, because that's how locals get around. The Swiss man treats her politely, but doesn't put her on any pedestal. Suddenly, the story becomes, European men are broke. Latin men are controlling. Asian men are misogynistic. Middle Eastern men are weird. They never stop to consider that in many of these places, women are educated, well-presented, family-oriented, contributing meaningfully in relationships, still embracing femininity in a way that many Western cultures have devalued. A woman moved to Spain expecting daily adoration simply for being foreign. "Spanish men don't even approach me," she complained. Why would they, when Spanish women are attractive, warm, family-minded, and culturally aligned? And when a foreign woman arrives expecting queen treatment without understanding or respecting the local dating norms? Some women head to Brazil, imagining men will fall at their feet. Instead, they realize Brazilian women often outshine them in beauty, warmth, and effort in relationships. The foreign woman, shocked at not being the main attraction, concludes that Brazilian men have unrealistic standards, while missing the irony that her own standards back home were just as one-sided. The fantasy of geographical advantage crumbles when it faces the reality of global competition. A consistent pattern emerges. Can't get many matches? Men are intimidated by strong women. Get matches but no second dates? Men can't handle independent women. Relationships keep ending? Men are all commitment-phobic and emotionally stunted. The possibility that some of this might be solved by adjusting mindset, attitude, communication style, or expectations? Rarely considered. Instead, social media echo chambers provide endless reassurance. You're perfect. Never lower your standards. It's the men, the city, the time, the culture, the app, never you. Rejection is no longer used as data for self-improvement. It's weaponized as proof of male failure. This creates a doom loop. Entitlement leads to disappointment. Disappointment leads to blame. Blame leads to no growth. No growth leads to repeated disappointment. And the cycle continues. The most dramatic moments occur when an entitled woman meets a man who truly doesn't need her, emotionally, financially, or socially, and is completely okay walking away. He has options. He has a life. He has peace. He values those things more than avoiding an uncomfortable conversation. So, when she plays hard to get, he simply doesn't chase. When she makes demands, he responds with boundaries. When she threatens to leave, he politely lets her go. When she withholds affection or attention as a manipulation tactic, it fails, because he's not starving for either. A client of mine navigated this perfectly. A woman he'd been casually seeing suddenly shifted gears and started issuing instructions. "You should take me to this really expensive place next time. You should pick me up. I don't like public transport. You should bring flowers. That's just basic." She lived an hour away and hadn't made any effort to reciprocate. He calmly answered, "I'm looking for a partner, not someone who wants to be taken care of. If you're looking for a provider instead of a teammate, we're just not compatible. I wish you the best." Instantly, she backpedaled. Suddenly, she was talking about wanting to build something together, offering to cook, act supportive, and show her real side. But the interaction had already told him everything he needed to know. The men these women claim to want, CEOs, founders, high-level professionals, athletes, top performers, are often exactly the ones least likely to tolerate entitlement. A man who built a business from nothing won't be awed by your Instagram follower count. An athlete who sacrifices daily for his career won't be impressed by someone who brings drama rather than peace. A financially free man who enjoys his solitude won't cling to someone who sees him only as a walking upgrade. Success brings options, and options make it very easy to say no to entitlement. Entitlement can feel powerful in the short term. It lets someone frame every disappointment as the other person's failure. It allows them to reject good men without reflection because he didn't meet my standards. But over time, patterns emerge. In their 20s, they dismiss decent, hard-working men as not enough. In their 30s, they start asking where all the good men went, while still demanding the same no-compromise treatment. In their 40s, they may wonder why long-term partnership feels out of reach, while younger, less entitled women are pairing off with the very men they feel they deserved. Instead of acknowledging the impact of their attitudes and expectations, some double down, join men are trash circles, and rewrite their story as one of noble victimhood. The truth is, the dating market, brutal as it can be, is also efficient. Entitled women are filtered out by quality men early and often. Balanced, contributing, pleasant women stand out immediately and tend to be claimed quickly. It doesn't matter whether someone thinks they deserve a top 1% partner. What matters is what they actually bring. Are they kind? Are they supportive? Are they peaceful to be around? Do they handle stress maturely? Do they see relationships as mutual service, not one-sided gain? The gap between what some expect and what they offer is where bitterness grows. At the core, relationships are trades. Not in a cold, transactional sense, but in a reality-based one. Time, energy, loyalty, support, affection, encouragement, resources, and effort are all being exchanged. When one side brings as little as possible but expects as much as possible, resentment builds. If your idea of dating revolves primarily around how much someone spends on you, you're not really seeking partnership. You're seeking a lifestyle sponsor. And if a man's idea of dating revolves only around physical appearance, he's doing the same in reverse. Real relationships grow when both people feel they are making a fair, voluntary, and meaningful exchange. Men are starting to articulate this more clearly. I don't do expensive first dates. I expect 50-50 for a while until we're building something serious. I'm not dating for entertainment. I'm screening for compatibility and long-term potential. For someone used to vague promises and romantic theatrics being enough to unlock unlimited male investment, this clarity feels threatening. Their usual tactics, guilt, shaming, name-calling, you're broke, you're insecure, you're not a real man, suddenly stop working. And when a tactic stops working, it dies. That's what we're seeing right now. There's been a long era where men were trained to believe their role in dating was simple. Spend money. Provide validation. Tolerate disrespect. Swallow complaints. Accept one-sided standards. All in the hope of being chosen. More and more men are walking away from that script. They're realizing their money has value. Their time has value. Their peace has value. Their standards matter just as much as anyone else's. They don't have to buy attention. They don't have to tolerate contempt. They don't have to finance lifestyles that aren't earned or reciprocated. And now that travel, remote work, and cross-cultural communication are easier than ever, high-value men are not limited to their local dating pools. They can meet women in other cities, other countries, even other continents, who are genuinely kind, cooperative, feminine in their own way, and eager to contribute. This means the woman who leans heavily on entitlement is not just competing with the women in her neighborhood. She's competing with women all over the world who have chosen a different mindset. And in that expanded market, entitlement is a serious disadvantage. Reality does not bend to feelings forever. You can blame men, you can blame apps, you can blame cities, cultures, or astrology. But if you consistently lead with, "What can I get?" instead of, "What can we build?" "How can he impress me?" instead of, "How can we impress each other?" "What do I deserve?" instead of, "What do I offer?" You will keep running into the same wall. Men with real options and grounded self-respect will walk away. Every time a man calmly says, "No thank you," to unreasonable demands, he's sending a signal into the dating pool. Standards are allowed. Boundaries are healthy. A man is not an ATM, a therapist, a status symbol, and a punching bag in one. The future in dating belongs to people, men and women, who understand value exchange, accountability, and reciprocity. Now I want to hear from you. What's the most entitled behavior you've personally encountered in dating, on either side? How did you respond? What happened when you calmly said no to unreasonable expectations? Share your experiences. The more we normalize having honest standards and expecting genuine partnership, the healthier the dating landscape becomes for everyone. The age of entitlement dominating the market is ending. The age of mutual respect, accountability, and real value is just beginning.